It's Friday, Feedback Friday, the feedbackiest day of the week. I don't even know how that turned out. Sorry, guys. I am whacked out today. I keep making technical mistakes and having to shoot this video again. I think because it's been so nuts and I'm trying to figure out how to encapsulate everything. And then I realized just don't try. Just do a little smattering and get on with it. Get her done. No surprise, Wednesday's video got demonetized. More surprising, last Friday's video where I talked more about online bullying got demonetized. You would think that trying to help people with online bullying would be very advertiser friendly, but it's not according to YouTube, so whatever. I've given up trying to figure YouTube out. You know what's coming. Help support this channel. Become a monthly patron. Patreon.com/LeettaK. Someone pointed out I said backslash in an earlier video, and that was wrong. And I think that's just an old habit from the DOS days, because it's like, Leetta, how do we get into King's Quest? B:/King's Quest1.exe. That was, I believe, the file name. Yeah, before the backslash. It was just backslash. C:\B:\, because that was a floppy drive, B. And I mean, getting a C drive was the coolest thing, because for the longest time it was just A drive, which was your like main thing, and then B drive. This is old. Like, we're talking a Tandy 1000. I might even have that backwards. But that's why I thought it was funny. All this learn to code stuff. Learning to code back in the day was necessary for computers. You needed to be able to speak computer to make it do anything. So, memories, good times. That's not what we're talking about today, though. We're talking about your comments. I'm not going to delve too deeply into the one from Wednesday. The video I made about the I'm just calling it a murder attempted suicide by cop. Because that's what I think it was at this point. People are giving it these sizzly titles, and I think that's just serving to scare people. The comment section for that, people were really raw in some of the things they said. I think they needed to be. I think everybody was kind of freaked out, and some people needed to be heard. So that's one of those ones where I think the most important thing was for me to just say thank you, and that I appreciate you guys that debated, actually debated. You didn't fight. And there were a lot of points that people made that I don't necessarily come to the same conclusion based on those points, but I still think the points are valid, if that makes any sense. And I think that in this case, it's just more important for me to sort of read and listen and absorb, because, as you know, a couple people pointed out, I'm not male. I don't live under the social pressures that men do regarding sexuality. The pressures women have are the exact opposite in this regard, and you're absolutely right on that point. And that's why I've tried to be more understanding about these communities that the mainstream media is just crapping on. My Facebook feed is a garbage fire in both directions right now. There's people arguing that forced prostitution is the only way to keep people safe from people like this. And then there's people who are just saying that the guy should be let out of jail so he can run over anybody sympathetic to him. Like, I don't want to be around that. The only thing that served to do was when I'm choosing my words carefully here. When I came to this channel and then I saw the responses, I think comparatively, compared to what I've seen elsewhere, you guys just seemed like, pinky up sipping, you know, what was Mycroft Holmes Gentlemen's Club called? I forget what it was called, but you know, the intelligentsia. Like, I think you guys are kind of spoiling me. Not that I mind, but the quality of discourse is just so much better here in a YouTube comment section. And this is why I think I'm so scrambled. It's like, what? How? Why? How is this happening? But maybe it's just because you guys are awesome. Because you are awesome. So I'll move on from that. Sometimes it's just better to sit and listen and absorb and learn. So that's what I'm gonna do here. I admit I'm a bit humbled. You know, I'm honored that in the wake of this thing, people I knew or screen names I recognized, either privately or publicly, said they previously identified as incel. You know, people, I was incel for 30 years, I was incel for 5 years, I was, you know, this sort of thing. And I'm like, wow. For someone to admit that means they feel they're getting enough support to be able to admit that here. And I think that's really good, because that's something that is not only embarrassing right now, but it's being demonized. And I mean, I think back to when I was younger and much angrier. And I think of some of the really angry feminist events I was part of, and some of the rhetoric of some of the clubs I was a part of. And I look at it now and go, man, I would have hated those. Me now would have to work very hard to not hate those people. Like the people I was hanging around then and thought were great. And it wasn't until that rigid rejecting, looking for ways to exclude everyone ideology smacked me in the face that I realized how wrong it actually was. And that's kind of, you know, the journey everybody has to take. We all have some of those things. And that's sort of, I guess that rolls into the video I did on the different types of bad games journalists based on the sub-bosses from Far Cry. And I'll admit, I almost pulled that video. And I'm glad I didn't, because you guys really liked it. So, lesson learned for me. This is too tinfoil hatty. This is too, like, it felt too Alex Jones doing it. But I think that's because, you know, the tendencies I have to watch are sort of the John tendencies of, I am so enlightened and I'm so happy and everything's about yes and everything's about agree, and that's, I realize in part because I listen to the wrong critics in some cases. You guys don't mind. In fact, you seem to like when I do stuff like that. Good to know. And that's part of the reason I did that video, even though, you know, my insecurities were telling me not to. Because I guess I did kind of relate to that character in the game, where if people beat on you long enough, even though you're saying no, your brain twists around and makes you think, oh, I'm saying yes, so I have the drop on them. It's like, it doesn't stop them from beating you. You just feel better about it. And I think that it's difficult to realize you've been in that place, because then you have to work through all the shame of actually recognizing that you were, you know, that ugly V word, a victim. And how do I put this? Because there you know, there's two types of victimization at work: the stuff that's real and the stuff that people need to be able to talk about. But that's precisely it. Real victimization has a real, hi Binky, has a real shame component to it. Can you guys see Binky? And Binky's making the camera go crazy. Hi Binky. Come here, buddy. Yeah, you're hungry. You're hungry. I'll feed you after this video's done. Okay. Okay. But yeah, real victimization has a real shame component in it. So people don't walk around going, I am a victim, love me. And that's why that sort of faith siren character drove me so crazy. And you guys agreed. That one comment someone said that, it drove them crazy when people felt, I felt bad for killing Faith. I didn't feel bad for killing any of them, but Faith was the one I was actively, it's like, oh, she gotta go down. I hated that character. In a way, I allow myself to hate fictional characters, and I don't allow myself to hate actual people because that can destroy you. But, oh man, the Jacob character I kind of had a begrudging respect for, because at least he was lying to himself, but in kind of more noble way. He was wrong, but at least he stood for something that didn't change with the wind, But John, I just felt sorry for. And I think that's the biggest insult you can actually give someone, which I think anybody who openly uses their alleged victimhood to try to persuade or control you, you really got to watch, because you don't, you don't actually effectively persuade through shame. That's just forcing people it's perpetuating the cycle of victimhood, and you can't do that. But I find it really interesting. I always love to hear other people's experiences in games, because they tend to be really different from mine. And I that's part of the amazingness of games to me, is that unlike a TV show where everybody watches a TV show and they see the exact same content in the exact same way, people experience games differently. They choose to do quests in different orders. They choose to, and I'm pretty sure, my opinions about the three sub-villains in that game was impacted by the order in which I took them on. So games are unique and personal experiences for everyone who plays them, which I think is what makes them wonderful to me. And so I like hearing about other people's experiences, which is why I don't like it when you suck and that's stupid and all that stuff get in the way. Because when you're doing that, when you're insulting me or insulting my experience, you're not talking about your experience. And I think we need more voices heard. We need more experiences out there, because I know I learned so much from hearing your guys' stories. And if you're wondering why the screen is shaking right now, it's because Binky's rubbing up against the monitor. Hello, Binky. Yes, Binky's my co-host today. Come back here, buddy. Yeah. Hi. Yeah, Binky. Okay. But yeah, and then the video on Monday about it's okay to not like a game, I thought that was going to be a throwaway, but that actually generated a lot of conversation, and that was a reason to do it, right? So I gotta put my head down. I am shooting Lady Bits episode 7 this weekend, and I gotta turn it around. I gotta build new slates for this one because it's a different format. It's like a countdown format. But yeah, I gotta knuckle down on that, get that out. I'll have something next week because I want to preview this format just because it's a little different, set expectations sort of thing, so people don't think it's going to be one thing and it's not. And then it'll be out not next Wednesday but the Wednesday after. It's kind of a weird split on the month this month, but yeah, that's the plan. That should give me plenty of time. Fingers crossed. So thanks for watching. Thanks for your great comments. Thanks for being insightful and creative and leaving amazing comments like this one that I singled out, because I'm like, this is very wise person said, I think that in order to have maturity, it's to know not so much that you are weak, but to know when you are weak. To place yourself in an environment where showing weakness leads to judgment as well as questioning your value as a person is dangerous. And they use the metaphor of the fact that part of maturity is failure, is recognizing there's a healthy amount of failure. The metaphor they use is no single baseball player hits every single ball thrown at them. And I think that's one of the most, because I almost said toxic, and I'm like, no, I don't use that word anymore. Because toxic is sort of, it's something that kind of makes you slowly sick over time. And I don't think this is that sort of thing. It's one of the, this is a more virulent infection. For whatever reason, gaming and tech, there's this weird thing that the people have to nail it every single time. And video games especially are as much about entertainment as they are tech. And so sometimes it's just going to be bad luck. Sometimes you run out of time. Sometimes things just don't lie down the way you want them to. There's a lot of things that can happen. And you know, the reason I stick with Ubisoft, even though there are some things that just drive me crazy about them as a company and their games, the reason I stick with them is that they are taking creative risks instead of getting so myopically focused on what their brand is that they make decisions based on business and try to just double, triple down in that regard. And they never try to do things that are different. I mean, could you imagine BioWare making a redneck game? No, you can't, because BioWare is so invested in its own identity as a company. But I actually think that the willingness to go there puts Ubisoft in its own category for really socially conscious game development. And I really reward them for that, even though it didn't always work. And I'll save some of this for my actual review that is coming out next week. I was going to do it this week, but I actually had to go to a memorial Wednesday, and it kind of screwed me up that way. But it'll be a good break from the Lady Bits editing to quickly do a game review, and then for patrons, and then bop back into 10 things about women in gaming in the 1980s. And man, did this script come together like a dream. It's a good thing it was easy, because this was a weirdly busy 3 weeks, but man, was it easy to write. It was such a joy. Like, just little bits about why certain things are awesome. It's all positive. It's just hunky-dory. But I'll save this till next week. I'll give you guys a nice short feedback Friday this week, because I think that, like I said, it was more listening and reading and trying to understand this week than it was really commenting on the response. So thanks again. Thanks for your support. The video that was supposed to run this Wednesday is going to run on Monday. So I already know what Monday is going to be. So thanks for watching, and have a great weekend. Go out, get some sunshine, enjoy the slightly warmer weather. And I just jinxed myself. The last time I said that, it freaking rained, hailed, freezing rain. The whole city went to anyway, thanks for watching.